Here's your heads up to this longer podcast. Have you had regrets before? Not now. I just enjoyed doing this podcast so much because I just want you to be inspired, motivated, have all the positive beliefs, and never ever have a regret again. Have a listen after
this. Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, welcome my friends. It's Paul Clough, Personal Development Unplugged. And in this episode, I want you to remember, just for a moment, can you remember a time, sometime in the past, doing something that you thought was going to be really difficult? And it probably was, but you did it. You did it nevertheless, how difficult you thought it might be. And when you did it, it felt great. I had one of those times. I've had loads of times. Doing this podcast is one of them, but the one that when I thought about this really jumped straight into my mind. And I've told this story before, but if you're new, you'll get it. But you'll get it anyway, because my very first time going to the hypnosis training, my very first hypnosis training way back some 20 odd years ago with a lovely man called Wilf Proudfoot. But the thing is, this thing called hypnosis at that time was, it was weird. And it was weird to be going to do hypnosis when I was in business. Because people were saying, what the hell are you doing? And by the way, Cluffy, you've got 3 kids at home. And you're going to leave them for a week to do this thing called hypnosis, and you're going to spend a small fortune doing it. And it's going to lead to going on to NLP, which is what I really wanted to do, which is going to spend another small fortune doing on it, or another small fortune on it. But I did it. And even when I was driving there, because it was 300 miles in an old car, and it took ages and ages going to a place where I didn't know anybody, and Cluffy doesn't travel well, and he certainly is at that time, and I still am, much of an introvert. So I really was thinking, I regret this so much. As I was traveling, I could feel the heartbeat going. And it was just, it was terrible. It was terrible. But I didn't turn back. There's enough roundabouts for me to drive round and come back. But I didn't. I carried on going there. And the following morning, because I stayed overnight before we started, then the following morning go in with all these people, having to introduce ourselves. Oh no, I don't want to do that in front of people. Doing this thing I don't really understand. Going on this thing. And I did it. And the thing is, I did it. And this is maybe the one thing that I've continued to do, continue to strive to do better, continue to find new ways, read about, look on YouTube, so many different ways has come back to a firm foundation of just pure enjoyment and ending up helping people create the lives they want. I could have stopped way back on 20 odd years ago on one of those roundabouts, come home and said, I just won't spend the money, I won't spend the time. I would have, knowing what I know now, I would have regretted that for every moment of the day, every moment of the days of my life, basically. And the thing is, that's so wonderful that somehow something inside me kept pulling me. Sometimes it was maybe pushing me to do something that I really didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But I still did it. And there's a guy called Seth Godden. He's like a business entrepreneur. He does a lot of internet marketing, or did a long time ago. And he is one hell of a guy. He's one, if you can listen to that, if he comes on podcasts and that, listen to him, because he's so really intelligent. But he's also a doer. And that makes a big difference in my world. And what he said was, I was listening to him and he just said this, you rarely or never regret doing something, but you really regret not doing it. And that stuck with me. And that made me think about, the things that I really pushed myself through and have never regretted one moment of doing that. And you see, and link this to my suggestion of not to have New Year's resolutions, but to review and plan that time and then commit. Because I don't want you to regret something. And New Year's resolutions are always things that we do and we regret fully because we don't do them properly and we don't learn from them. And that's the whole thing. But more than a New Year's resolution, because this is sort of this is part of the plan of our life, as it were. We're going to have these things we want to do, our goals in our life. And when we don't do them, you will regret. Even if you don't tell anybody, you know inside you're going to regret. So, as you sit there now, or you walk, or whatever you're doing, what are you regretting? Not having done something, not doing something. Just have a think, just for a moment. What have you regretted not doing? It's a right bummer, isn't it, when you look back? I can think of quite a few things that if only, because it's so easy to say, well, I shoulda, I coulda, but I didn't. And it was just as easy to say, well, just do it. Why didn't you just do it? Well, if it was that bloody easy, Cluffy, I would have done, but it is that easy. Sometimes these simple things are easy, but they may be just that little bit more difficult than you think, because there's something maybe stopping you. You see, if you could have done it, if you would have done it, what stopped you? As you think back now, what stopped you doing that thing? It could have been a fear, couldn't it? Generally it's a fear. Maybe there's, I don't know, fear of the unknown. There's maybe that imposter syndrome. Maybe it's just a general anxiety that's going on. Maybe at that particular time in your life, you just didn't have the skills, you knew it, and therefore you didn't do it. You didn't think about learning the skills, we just didn't do it because it was a great excuse sometimes not to push ourselves forward, to really stand out, be our real self, and put ourselves out there. Because that's really small then. That is scary, isn't it? Putting yourself out there. Because when you do that, there are some people, the buggers, will have a pop at you. And the thing is, we take so much store on those people who have a pop at us, who try to criticise us. And what do they know? Bugger all. Have they done it before? We've talked about this a little while ago. They've done bugger all. But they're not us, and they're not going to get the results that we want. So they're the type of... Maybe it's a negative belief. I don't deserve this. I've never done it before, so I can't do it. I'm stupid. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve any of this. Maybe one of those beliefs. And you see, that's why sometimes it is easy, but these little things have just so easily stop us for wonderful reasons, because we don't want to have those people coming at us. Maybe getting embarrassed in front of people. Maybe seen to be a failure. Oh my God. Now we are an imposter and we've been found out. So your unconscious mind goes, well, I don't want you to have that type of feeling, that emotion, that experience, because that will damage us for ages, forever maybe. That's what we think sometimes. So I'm going to give you this negative belief and I'll give you those bloody fears and anxieties and things like that. You'll never do it, so you'll never experience that feeling. But what do we fear? What do we feel? We feel regret. We feel sadness. And then that worries us and we'll get the anxiety of all sorts of things, and that belief is still there. And we can change all of that, because I want you never to have a regret again. Never. And I also want you to feel inspired, motivated to have those positive beliefs. Why? Why is that important? Because we're owned by this, and therefore we can have it because it's ours. Those goals are ours to have. The feelings of success are ours to have. And it may be linked to our purpose. And if it is, the hell we should do it. So I want you motivated and inspired with positive beliefs to go and do it, so you never have a regret again and you have all the wonderful success. But the thing is, let's just rewind for a moment, because that's all very well, Cluffy. You may want us to have that. You may want me to feel there's no regrets. You may want me to feel inspired and motivated with positive beliefs. But I don't feel it at the moment. I would love to feel it, but I don't feel it at the moment because, hey, so let's just rewind, as I said. Why Why do you regret doing stuff or not doing stuff? You see, if you did regret doing this stuff, which you rarely would, you can learn from it. That's the thing. So by not doing it, you have the regrets because you haven't learned anything. And we're here on this little old planet Earth to learn, to be part of this wonderful self-improvement, self-development, unplugged. So when you do try these things, and I don't like the word try, but when you go all out, you do this thing, and it's maybe the result wasn't what you thought it might be. You could have regrets over that. But if you learn from it, whatever the result was, so if you think back to times when you've regretted stuff, I wonder what that feeling was like. Well, I know what it was like. But the thing is, if we'd have sat down and just thought, and it doesn't take too long just to think, what can I learn from that? What have I learned from that? And the thing is, by doing it and learning from it, you have an experience, a life experience that you'll never regret when you learn from it. Because it's just a result. It's not a failure. And in fact, I think it's a success whatever result you get. Because you went out and you put yourself out there. You know, this vulnerability stuff. But you put yourself out there and you did what you did. Now, maybe you didn't have everything you needed at that time, which is why you didn't get the result you thought you did or thought you wanted. Or maybe you just didn't do the planning. And if you had just spent a little bit of time, because sometimes we get this intuition, we go 100 miles an hour at doing something that we think is the right thing. It's not quite getting the right result and we just stop. Well, maybe we just got to realize if a little bit of planning, a little bit of learning from those past experiences, we would start to get different results. Maybe even the results that you want. Maybe results you couldn't foresee, which are so much better than the ones that you tried to foresee. Now that would be awesome, wouldn't it? And I don't see any reason why that can't happen, which will make you more inspired, more motivated, more filled with positive beliefs in anything to do the next thing and the next thing. And you're going to find you are capable of doing so many things, maybe linked to your purpose. Because you remember, I talked about on one of the FMQs about Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, with his statement, do it over theory, which is awesome. But that could have been a problem where we don't get our result. Because I do believe in do it over theory, get it in the muscle, get all that stuff in your muscle and flex those muscles and do that stuff. But before we just go ahead and do it, if you have had past regrets from not doing something, why not just take a few minutes and review them? Review them from this position, as it were, this frame of mind. I'm looking to learn. I'm listening to learn. So if I reviewed what I did, or I didn't do rather, what can I have learned from that? Or even the stuff I thought was a failure and I regretted it. What could have been learned? What could I have learned from there? Because if you ask that, you're not saying definites. You're just getting your unconscious mind to go, okay, let's look at it from this meta position. I'm looking back over time now. And time's not a great healer. Time is just gives you a different perspective because you've got different learnings between then and now. So we're going to use those experiences, those learnings, and ask, what else could I have learned? And if you could write them down, awesome. That would be my number one thing to do. Get my old Jenny journal out, open it up. What could I have learned from this? Great question. Write the question down as well. Even if you have to break that state for a moment and disappear and do something completely different and then come back and you find your unconscious mind is let that question settle in and germinate it into a new way of thinking about that. So you start to learn, but because the most important thing is learning consciously, but more importantly, learning unconsciously. So your unconscious mind knows this is what I've learned. Because not what I could have learned now. This is what I've learned from that experience. And I can apply what I've learned into this next experience that I'm thinking of. And the thing is, even if you got something that was totally unexpected from something you were trying to do, what do you think you could have learned from that? Could have been something better. Could have been something not quite so good. And again, it's just throwing wonderful questions out there. What do I think I could have learned, I would have learned? And we're just setting some foundations now. What was the belief that I had when I didn't get what I wanted, or I didn't even do it? What was that belief? And when are there times when I did things, which really is a wonderful counterexample to that belief? So, I'm not good enough, and then I did something which was good enough. I don't deserve it, but I did something and I did feel deserving of it. Because once you found those counterexamples, that first belief cannot hold as much water. It cannot be so firmly entrenched in your mind and your unconscious mind, because we've now reminding ourselves there are times when we didn't believe it, and there are times when we did, or we didn't believe it, but we also did it. And it just loosens that model of the world. And then as we do that, so we understand the negative beliefs we had, we can think about them. Are they justified? Where did that bloody belief come from? Because sometimes it's not even, that came from another time. Well, what can I learn from that? Well, once I've learned from that, I can now let go of that belief, because that belief is only trying to stop you feeling that hurt of perceived failure or guilt or shame rather, and feeling embarrassed. But once you get that knowledge, and then we're going to use it into doing it, those old beliefs and old negative emotions will begin to fade away, because that's what happens. And then what we've got to do now, because we've got our little foundation of looking at the past things, because we're looking at the past, let's clear that just a little bit, and then go, right, what do I really want to do? What is it? And you may have more than one or two, and we're going to get like a hierarchy, which one would be the most interesting, which one would make the most difference in my life if I did it. So you're going to find the one. And then we're going to say, well, just before we even think about doing anything, what will it get me when I'm doing it? So not when I've done it. What will it get me? What will it allow me to learn? What will it allow me to do while I'm doing this thing to get that result? Because it's not a beginning and an end, which is like the journey with the boring bit in the middle. This is an adventure, and adventures are exciting. They're fun. They're just wonderful things to do because it's going to be fun. It's exciting. So what will doing this thing, heading for this goal, allow me to do in the middle? What will it get me as I progress along the steps along the way, as it were? And also, what will it get me when I've actually got there? When I've got this result? Although this result, Cluffy says, is just part of a continuum. So when I get the result, how will it make me feel? And what will that allow me to do when I've got that experience? When I've got this result, what else will that let me do? Because when you start getting those inside you, that's when you start. That's when. Sorry. That got me. That when you think and feel both of those. So what will allow you to feel and do while you're doing it? What will allow you to feel and do when you get it, and allow you to do in the future, having got it? That gets the inspiration going. That gets the motivation going. That gets that positive belief, because all we're thinking of is the positives. What will it allow me to do? What will it bring me? Maybe even what type of things do I think I'll learn? And you start to get it. And then you think, well, okay, let's just take that. I really want this now, because you might have thought, well, I really wanted it, and now it doesn't mean too much. But now, when it really means so much to you to do this thing, we can now plan it. Because theory is not planning. That's the thing. Planning is how am I going to do this bloody thing? So we're getting ready to do it. So we're not just going to run full pelt at something we don't know. We sort of have a direction, but we don't know what we're going to do. Let's plan it a little bit. Now, you may want to have a look at the hypnosis tracks that I have. Where are they? Well, you know, and if you don't know, you should know. You go to, in your browser, paulcloughonline.com/podcast. Sign up for that, and you get all the hypnosis and NLP processes that are connected with these podcasts. And one of them is an achievable outcome or a well-formed outcome. So it gives you an idea of how to plan, but plan in a different way. It gets you to make sure that it is right for you. What will you gain? What will you lose? What do you need to learn? Where are you now? What do you really want at the end of it? when we've got that plan in mind, we can then start working backwards. Now, if it's a short project, you can work backwards from the very end and come all the way back. What has to happen just before the very end, and then what has to happen in order for that to happen, and what has to happen in order to that. And we work back those little milestones all the way back to today. I now know what I need to do next to get that and that and that. You got it. But if it's a massive project, yeah, we're going to do the very end result. We want to know where we're going, the big picture, but also break it into just milestones which are maybe a little bit too big and they're still wide apart. And then you take that first milestone and you work backwards from that. So we're going to work towards a milestone. So it's like a mini project. Keep it simple. Overwhelm is just a thing of the past because we've now got these steps. So we're going to work backwards from there, from that milestone to this very day. That's when you can commit. But just before you commit, you may want to think what type of belief I want as well. What type of belief do I have now when I get that last step? Because if you have the belief from the last step, the achievement side of it, that's the belief you're going to start with. So as you work backwards to that first step, you can even do the 5 keys to success. Now, I've spoken about this so many times, but very quickly, the first one, know your outcome. Well, we're doing that now, aren't we? Whether it's a milestone or the final piece. Take inspired action. Sometimes we say massive action, but it's really just that inspired action to do that first thing. Then become aware. Become aware of what's happening around you, how you're moving towards this goal, because you might be slightly off direction, because things do come and blindside us, or there's obstacles in the way. Remember the hero's journey. We're leaving home, and there will be obstacles in our way. How do we get around them? Well, if you're aware of them, now you can be flexible, which is the 4th one. Flexible enough to change what you're doing, to notice, as it were, the outcome, and then take that inspired action to get round that obstacle and become aware of what's happening next and continue being flexible. And with everything, have the physiology and psychology of excellence. Act as if you've already got that goal, that milestone. How would you act and react? And be that way. And the thing is, what I want you to do just before that kicking off and that inspired action, just before, I want you to see that last step. So if it's the final step of if you're doing a project and you're looking at the last bit of actually getting that, or whether it's a milestone in between, whatever it is, it's the last step of that milestone or the last step of the whole project. When you know, if you were taking that step, it would convince you without a shadow of a doubt, 110% out of 100, which you can't get, but you've got it, that you've got that goal. What would that look like? What would that look like over there? See yourself over there, taking that last step and knowing that you've achieved what you set out to achieve. You've had some obstacles. You've got round them. You've swerved them. You've been flexible. You've taken all sorts of action. You've learnt along the way. You've found the help. You've found the resources you need. But you've got there. If you saw that you over there, in fact, just close your eyes now if you've got a goal and see that you over there taking that last step. See how wonderful you look over there. Look at the smile on your face. Look at the way you're walking, having achieved that last step. How good does that look over there? And then in your mind, float into that you and feel it now. Feel having achieved, having done all that work. And it will be work. It will be sometimes hard work, but you've done it. You've expended it. You've learnt along the way. You've taken all those old past regrets. You've learnt from those. And you do it, and you've done it. You do what Gary Vee does and says, do it over theory, but you've done it in such a way that you've put it in the muscle. You've taken all your learnings. You've taken all that inspiration, that motivation, that positive belief. And just as you're inside yourself now, having achieved that very last step, what is that belief? What is that belief that you believe about yourself? Because that's the belief you're going to write down and use and look at every step along the way. And as you're here, having taken that last step, just imagine out into the future. What other possibilities are out there for you? What is your next goal as part of this continuum that Cluffy talks about? And how having this belief is going to make it all possible. And when you've done all of that and really be there, Step back out of that you out there, back into your body, and notice that you out there. Carry on taking on those possibilities. And then commit to that very first step, the one you've worked out, you've planned, and do it. And as you do it, you're committing, you're scheduling, and you're going to review, because that's part of the awareness, isn't it? So every week, every day, you're going to review where you are. Have you done that step that you did? Have you done the next step? What happened? Where are you? What are you learning along the way? Because we want to learn everything about this. Knowing that we've got that big picture in mind, the final step, what it's going to feel like, because that's going to pull us. No pushing now. This is pulling us with inspiration, intuition, motivation, and that wonderful positive belief. And you may well find that this is all linked to your purpose, and you're doing something that is purposeful. How will that make you feel? Just thinking about it now. How will that make you feel? This is why we're going to do things like this and not New Year's resolutions. We're going to make a difference. Make a difference in our lives, your life, which will affect the people around us, because they cannot not be affected by you getting these results. Showing them what is possible. Being the change you want to be in yourself, and being the change you want to see in others. Ripples of change will go further and wider than you ever think possible. And now you get this thought inside of you that anything is possible. And one of the meta things I put is, you'll be okay, because you will be. And the one thing you will never have then is a regret. And never have a regret for not doing it, and you'll never have a regret for doing it, because you're going to learn and have such a bloody good time. I'd love to be part of that. Let me know what happened over these last few minutes in your head. Has it inspired you to do something? Has it motivated you to do something? And I'd also like to know what you did about it. And what help do you need to continue that motivation? Because this is a start. You've got all the keys, but if you want any more help, if you want some pulling, maybe a little pushing, a kick out the bum sometimes, let me know. And if you need a bit of confidence, you've also got this as a program. Do you suffer from not being confident enough? What's it like? What's it like when you feel unconfident about things? When you worry about things? And what would it be like if that carried on? It would be a bummer, wouldn't it? And there's no reason for it to be that way, because you could, if you choose, to have confidence in yourself, to sing from your real voice, to know that you're aligned with what you want and you're competent and confident to have it. That's what you could do if you decided to. Sometimes, though, you need a bit of help to let go of that unconfidence, because you need to learn about it, learn from the root cause of that unconfidence, what created it, how you decided to be unconfident, what was the positive intent, and then find all the resources that you have inside you to actually become confident again. How do you do that? Well, funny enough, Cluffy, you have made a program for this, haven't you? Yes, I have. It's called Supreme Inner Confidence. Inner confidence is just, well, it's supreme, isn't it? When you are totally confident in who you are, singing from your own voice, shining, showing up, being who you really are. And that's what this program will do. It will take you from your unconfident state and create with 6 very special hypnosis tracks and 3 videos. It will create in you a newfound confidence. More than the old confidence you had in different areas of your life that have seemed to have disappeared, but it's going to create the confidence that you desire. If that's something that you'd like to explore, go to paulcloughonline.com/confidence. Have a watch of the video, read the words. But better than that, it's a money-back guarantee. So you've got nothing to lose other than your unconfidence. So why not just take a little bit of the confidence that you used to have and go with it. Come with me on that adventure of creating who you really are supposed to be. Because if you don't want to work with me in person, work with me with these specially designed hypnosis tracks. Enjoy every heartbeat, because you can when you become supremely inner confident. That was, without any shame whatsoever, a little plug for one of my programs, the Supreme Inner Confidence Program. We've also got Free Your Life from Anxiety. Have a look at those. They are on paulcloughonline.com. If you want the confidence, just put a / and then put confidence after it. If you just go to paulcloughonline.com, the Free Your Life from Anxiety will come up straight away. But anyway, they're things that will help you. I've got loads of hypnosis tracks, as you know, at paulcloughonline.com/podcast. They'll help you. And you've got me here. You've got me here in a couple of ways. I work with people and coach people online. You've got that opportunity. If you don't want to pay for it, you can ask me a question here and I'll try to do a podcast for you and give you some tools there. One-to-one is always better. You know that. If you've got that issue and you really want some one-to-one help, that's really fast-tracking things. But these are all choices, and this is what this podcast is all about. It's unplugged, but it's also about choice. You choose what way you want to travel this adventure. Anyway, have more fun than you can stand. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm really excited about what your next step will be. Enjoy every heartbeat, as I said. Have a listen to this last little bit, but bye-bye now. Just before you go, if you've just got a second or two, please have a listen. Why don't you share this? Share this podcast with just one person today, and then one person tomorrow, and one person after that. What would happen if we all did that? And why not subscribe? It's so easy to do. Find the platform of your choice. If it's iTunes or it's Castbox or any others, there's loads of them. Search for either Paul Clough or Personal Development Unplugged, and then there's a big subscribe button. Press that subscribe button and it'll be there. You get the podcast twice a week, on a Wednesday and a Saturday. You never have to look any further. And if you would, why not put one of those reviews up? Because that would be awesome, because that just moves it around this integrated field of learning, as it were, and becomes and gets in front of other people. Which is what we want, isn't it? To be the change we want to see in others and help others change to be the change they want to see in themselves. There you go. I'm going to speak to you real soon. Hope you enjoyed it. Have fun. Enjoy every heartbeat.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.